Ooh, what's going on, YouTube, and howdy do? So, like I said, I was cleaning out an old garage, and I came across a few blades that I didn't even know that were in there. They were just hiding. And morning, you who makes you a man, puts hair on your chest and your palms. So, I come across a couple knives, and one was this little Victorinox, right? And this thing was literally rusted shut. I mean, I couldn't move any of them. I had to take a screwdriver and pry everything open. But after a little bit of D-bad magic, everything now, here I am off camera because that's the way it's supposed to go. Everything now opens right up. And you can see there. And you can see there. I don't have thumbnails, but I'm in the process of cleaning it up, and you can see that right there. That's what's left on it. That entire thing, all that right there, this is like cruddy stuff on there. It was just everywhere. And I was thinking, oh, I should do a video of cleaning this thing up and restoring an old Victorinox and showing people how easy it is to fix a knife that you think is dead forever. These guys make a great product, and this one right here is over 30 years old. It was completely rusted shut. I mean, everything was just caca. And you can see that. I mean, imagine that, but everywhere. Not in spots, I mean everywhere. And I was able to just knock it down. And I'm not done with it, but it's a workable knife again, just from tooling around and cleaning it up. So if you have a knife that you think is dead because it's all rusty and it won't open anymore, especially these old Swiss Army knives, these are great knives, man. They'll last forever if you take care of them. And this one I found in the garage, and it wasn't taken care of, but it is now, and it's working really good. But we're not talking about this one today because I totally forgot to put on video how easy it was to clean that up. And I gotta tell you, WD-40 is a major helper in there. So what I do have is this one. Oh yeah. The leather is so brittle that this chipped off. Oh, look at this. Was that in there upside down? the blade was inside. Oh, you can hear that crunch. Ugh. So this is something. I don't even know what this is. I'm gonna have to clean it up to figure out. But you can see it's all chunked up and missing pieces. And the thing is, though, the pommel is on there really tight. You can see how it's on there. It's on there really tight, and this blade has seen better days. So what I'm thinking is I need to take this old hunting knife and bring some life back into it. And this is one of those things where you might go through a garage or you might go through a basement and say, oh my God, I had this old knife down there. It's my grandfather's old knife. This one right here is probably over 40 years old, right? This is an old knife. And but you might find one and think, oh, it's too bad, you know, nobody took care of this. Look, it's gone to hell, and there's no saving it. There's always a chance you could save it. So before you give up on it, just give it a try. You know, wing it. Just do whatever you can. And that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to wing it. I'm just going to see what I can do to make this thing come back to life. And if I can, I mean, this is pretty heavily damaged, right? But that steel is still there. And that's the most important part, right? That rust doesn't go all the way through. That steel is still there. So I want to clean it up. I want to find out what brand it is. And just see if I can't get this thing to work again. Maybe soak this guy and see if I can't bring that back a little bit. Take off this because I'm not going to need that. And if worst comes to worst, I'll just make a new sheath. So that's what I'm going to do today is I'm going to try and give this guy right here a little rebirth. All right, let's do this. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wash it with a little soap and water. And I know you're thinking a rusty knife. Why would you put water? It's going to rust more. It's not rust anymore. I'm going to clean it. All right, so just going to first wet it down. Leather, pommel, blade, everything. Just going to wet it. All right, let some of that water soak into the handle. Basically what I'm doing right here is I'm just kicking off the surface dust. All right, so now I'm just going to take some dish soap. That's it. Add a little dish soap and see if I can't just wash away some of the iggy goo and make it a little better. Put some on the handle here and really try and work it in. Now the water and the soap is going to really help with the handle. It's going to help me see where I'm at. I'm getting little tiny chips and stuff coming off, but it'll give me a good look and a good baseline of what's to come with this leather here. Just rinse it all off. Rinse it off. Alright. So, stage one. Stage one, the cleaning of the blade. So, this is what I'm looking at, right? You can see that there's a knife in there. It's got some promise. So now what I need to do is just dry it off a little bit, and I'll use a heat gun, and then I'm going to try and get off some of this cruddy-duddy, and I want to see if I can get the rust away from the end of this blade enough to find out who makes it, because I don't even know that. So let's go to the shop. All right, so I'm going to do a little heating here. Turn on some light. And the big thing is I don't want to overheat the handle because I don't want to make it even more brittle. I just want to get some of that water off. You know, I don't want it trapped underneath onto the steel. And that's it. Just make it nice and dry to the touch. Don't want to go crazy. So now what I need to do is hand sanding just a little bit. And I already had one piece pulled out here. Here it is. I already pulled a piece out here for something else. Just want to go real light, just to see if we can get that end off of there. And it's going to take a little bit of work, but I think I'm going to be able to sand some of this stuff down. And it shouldn't be too hard. I'll show you why I say that. Because this is what we started with. This is where we're at just off that. Right? So I'm going to work on that for a little bit, and then we will check it out together. Okay, so we made some headway here. I got through the rust, and it says USA right there. This blade, while it's not 100% shiny, I didn't keep sanding. I actually just stopped because I got to a point where I was like, hey, it's kind of looking good. It's looking pretty good. So far, this blade is looking like a knife. And I gave it kind of an edge here. Ooh, kind of a sweet edge here. And I just made it shave sharp. Woo-wee! So this was a rusted, no good, crappy blade that I can now shave with. I was thinking about polishing this. And then I started looking at it, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't know, it looks kind of cool. And then I started looking at it, and I'm thinking, wait, is that wooden? And I can't tell, but it looks like it could be a wooden pommel, but I don't want to mess with it because I like the color as it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this guy right here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of this Williamsville wax. All right? And so I'm just going to push some of this stuff onto it. And I'm going to rub it in. And I'm going to get it on the pommel as well, because if it's wood, this wax is gonna it'll absorb the wax and it'll shine and look really nice and this and that. What the wax is going to do with the leather, it's going to make it a little bit softer, a little bit easier to work with. Now I have these holes in the leather, as you guys remember, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to JB Weld this handle. I'm going to fill those holes with JB Weld. And once the JB Weld hardens, then I'll be able to smooth it out and it will be A-OK. And I do believe this was a wooden pommel. How cool is that? How cool is that? So far, this old throwaway knife is turning out to be pretty cool. I like it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to mix up my my JB Weld, put a bunch of that on here. I'm just going to coat it, just coat it. And already I like the feel that the wax is giving this leather, and I like that. I like that. I like that. And with the JB Weld, all that's going to do is just hold everything together. So far, so good. I'm thinking, should I do a little bit more sanding on the blade? And I don't know. And I don't know if I have any down here. I know I have some upstairs. I was wondering what the blade was, and if it was any carbon base. And I'm looking at some of the colorations, and I thought maybe it could be. And if it was, I was going to see about bluing it. But I'm looking for stuff. I don't know where it is. So I was thinking about bluing it. And if it is carbon, then the blue will take and it'll look really cool. If it's not, then the blue won't do anything. It'll just wipe right off. So that's it. Let me use a little rag here. Clean off the blade. Oh, yeah. All right, so I like that. So now it's time for a little JB Weld mixing. Hold on. Okay, so mixed up my JB Weld. And the first thing I did is put a bunch inside the holes, right? So I wanted to fill those cavities first. And now I'm going all the way to the pommel on the line, and what that's going to do, it's going to better secure that. What I'm also going to do is just throw some JB Weld on the end of that where the screw is, and that's going to secure that even better. Also, on this handguard, I'm going to put a little bit, let it meet up to it, and what that's going to do is, that means that thing is going to go nowhere once it's dry. I mean, nowhere. Sorry, no prom date for you, buddy. So all the holes are completely filled with JB Weld. So now you can see there's no big holes, right? And what's going to happen is once that dries, I'll be able to sand it. And it'll just be a hand sanding, very, very light. And all of these leather stacks are going to be on there forever. They will never, ever, ever want to leave their home. They will be there for life. So that's it. I'm going to let this sit. Now, it's a 5-minute weld, right? But if you're going to be using JB Weld, let it sit. Just let it take the time to cure all the way through, especially on something absorbent like leather. Just really let it do its job. And what I'm going to do first is just a light heat, because I don't want it dripping off. I made this thing really sharp, and I am all over the edge with my thumbs, and I can feel it digging in. So that's all I want to do. Is what I'm doing is, with the heat, it's making it lighter, so it's going to fill in all those holes, right? It's making it more liquidy, and so it's not so thick. And what it's going to do, it's going to help it seep in. And I hope you heard that while I was doing that. So that's it. So now I have this glossy deal there, and I'm going to just put this in a vise and let it sit for either a few hours or maybe even tomorrow, who knows. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to let it sit and rest. Now remember, when you're clamping your blade in the vise, don't over tighten. Otherwise you get those little lines from the vise. All you have to do is make sure it's not falling anywhere, right? So it's in the vise. We're good. I'm going to come back to you when it's hard. All right, hold on. All right, so in just like the knife itself, I need to clean this up. But I'm not going to saturate it though. Just going to wet my hands and then wipe down the leather with wet hands rather than just soak it. I can see some of that color is looking pretty good in there. And that brown is nice. And just want to give a little rebirth to the brown. Alright. And that's it. So I can see I got the dust off of there mighty nice, and get some of them cruddy, dirty stuff off my hands, because I'm going to need clean hands here. And what I'm going to do, this might sound a little crazy to some of y'all, is I'm just going to lather it up in an oil and let it sit. And I was going to use just vegetable oil and let it sit. And then I was like, I have some gun oil, but you know what I'm going to use? I'm going to use some WD-40, right? People say, why? Why would you use WD-40? Well, one, because it's the closest thing to me, but B, because it works. Spray some in there, spray some on there. I'm not worried too much about the strap because I'm going to end up cutting that off. So, this WD-40 is going to sit, and it's going to penetrate some of these little rusty rivets, and it's going to help make this thing softer, nice and smooth, right? And get inside the strap here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let it sit for the amount of time that the knife is going to take. That's what I'm doing with the WD. I'm just going to just let it sit. It's going to hang out for a little while, and hopefully that WD will set right in. And it's kind of just going to work like a leather treatment that you would do for your dashboard, right? It's going to work the same way. And unless you have a metal dashboard. So that's it. We are like 3 parts done. We got some JB Weld hardening. We got some WD-40 softening. And after that, it comes down to just, it comes down to just sanding down the handle, giving it a final cleanup, testing to see if it's carbon or stainless, and I'm thinking it's stainless. And then that's it. It's going to be done, and I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to put it to some use and see if that old craggly USA blade is going to be able to hold up, and see if it held up for the test of time. And as old as that thing is, and as rough as the condition as it was, if it holds up, man, I'm going to be pretty happy. And if it doesn't, I mean, really, who cares? The thing, I mean, it's not like it was part of my life. It was in a garage. So that's what we're going to do. All right, hold on. Pausing the action real quick, man. I just got a package today from Mike Routson, right? And this dude, just a cool guy, man. Just a cool guy on here. I'm with him on here and on YouTube. I mean, YouTube and Facebook. He sent me these cool little stacked skulls, like keyring type thing, with a compass and this pretty badass. It's like a knife lanyard, right? And it's all really thick wound cordage. Really, really cool. Very, very nice. So, Mike, this is appreciated. I actually really dig this. This is going to turn into a keychain, or I might even stick it right on my go bag, because you can never have too much cordage. And I think that's what I might do, is put this on my camp bag, because unwound, there's a lot of cordage used in this little guy right here. This is wound tight. So, Mike, thank you, my brother. I got it. Thing came here, and all is good, dude. All right, so that's it. Let me continue. All right, happy days. Happy days. So, I'm going to show you this first. You can see all those holes are filled in. Now I've got a glossy slapping of JB Weld on there. So what I need to do is let it fully cure, and then I can sand it. And that'll turn out just fine. But here's why I'm so happy. Steel. The steel, you can see I blued it except for the edge. So I blued pretty much the whole blade, left the edge unblued, so it looks really cool like that. Gives it a Sanmai type appearance, which I really, really like. So now here's the thing. It says USA on the blade, but it says nothing else. So it's like, okay, well then what is it? But if it's a high carbon blade, which it is, because it took the blue immediately. I mean, it blued immediately, took the bluing. And you could see it's a nice blue. So this is definitely a high carbon blade. That means it's not buck, because if it was buck, it would have been a 420HC and would not have blued. It's not case because it would have been 4116 and would not have blued. It's not like a frost cutlery type thing, A, because the way it's built, and B, because back then they would have used a 440 and it would not have blued. So being a high carbon steel, I have no idea what this is. This is an old USA hunting knife made pretty well. I gave it a good edge. I mean, a really good edge. And it didn't have that before. That's sharp right there. And the edge was pretty easy to do. I left, you could see I did a bunch of sanding, right? And I left it kind of burly. I was actually liking it the way it is. Does that say something different than USA? I mean, I'm looking at it. It looks like just, no, USA. I didn't know if it said something else. But, yeah, I don't know, man. Oh, wait, maybe it says USN. Maybe it's a US Navy? Is that what it... That doesn't look like an A. That looks like an N. So maybe it's USN. I'm going to have to do a little homework and see. But what I know is that this thing is a really cool hunting knife. The wax did a great job on the pommel. It looks really nice. Look at that. Looks really nice. So I'm digging that. That's all set. I'll sand that down just a little bit. I'm going to sand this down. And then when I've reached the leather with the sandpaper, and I'm going to go light, when I reach the leather, then I'm going to put more wax on top of the freshly scored leather. So we have that. But the blade, I'm leaving the blade like it is, man. Once I hit that blue, I just did a little test swipe on the Ricasso, and it blued, and I'm like, what? So now it's like, I was like, ooh, I'm going to super blue it. And that's what I use, a super blue. You get it at Dick's. And it blued up beautifully. You can see I blued here, and I blued here, left here. Same thing on the other side. I blued the spine as well. It is just really, really nice. And have to say, I am loving it. Now, I can't tell if it started out life as a hollow grind or not. So I just made it a full flat grind. I gave it more of like a push, and it may have been a full flat already, and that's why it didn't take too much to get it there. But I'll tell you what, it is awesome. This is a cool little knife. I have to test the sheath. Oh, I remember where I left it. Hold on. All right, so it's less crunchy than it was with the WD-40. So that actually helped a little bit. It actually softened up just a touch. So what I'll do is I'll wax this too, and see if I can't get that tip to straighten out there. But it slides in so much nicer now. But maybe it's because all that rust and stuff was taken off the steel as well. But that right there, I'm going to remove this completely. That right there is going to be a cool little package of a classic hunting knife. Now I have to look up and see what USN is. And I thought it was USA, but it's USN. So that might give me a little heads up on what this thing is. But what I do know is that it's very comfortable in the hand. It's a great size. It's about as thick as the case. You know, the case makes that real thin hunter. So it's great for skinning and things like that. And that is what I'm seeing in this. This is going to be more of a hunting knife than an all-out camp knife. And with the edge on it, I mean, that edge I put on there was stoked like right away. It was like just insane sharp. I mean, I wonder if I can get a little, yeah, look at that. Oh, look at that tiny little sliver. That was like, I don't even know where it went. It was so thin. That was like a hairline sliver. The edge is good. The edge worked out really good. I put that thing on there with absolute care. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but it is nice. Look at that edge. So being as thin as it is, as long and thin as that edge, this will not be a chopping blade on any kind of hardwood at all. If I did have to chop anything at all, it would definitely be like firs and pines and things like that. Outside of that, nope, just the way it is coming. This is a pure skinning food prep type knife. And it's just awesome. It is super, super tight. Whatever the rust tightened is one thing, but then after JB welding those snot out of it, that definitely helped out too. But it's almost got an upsweep to it, which is kind of cool. I like that. So far, so good. This little project is turning out handsomely. So I have to say that I am like proud daddy moment right here. This one is nice. This one is nice. I'm liking that. Ooh, I'm so glad it's carbon and it blued so well because I really wanted that color on there. All right, so it's light. So what I'm going to do is wait for this to finish hardening. It's tacky right now, but not like sticky tacky. It's just, you can feel it's soft. So as soon as that hardens, then I'm going to be able to start sanding. And that's it. Then I will put back on some more wax, make it all pretty. And this knife will be el dente. It will be all done. So stay with me now. All right, so here's something I did not notice at first, and hopefully I can get it to, here we go. See that RH PAL 35 made in USA? Hoo-wee, boys and girls. There is a story to that. Hold on. Wow. All right, so life just got really, really freaking cool. Oh, hey, I got the queen is awake. So this knife that I thought was just some old 40-year-old hunting knife, no. And before I tell you what it is, my man, my homeboy, my brother, Cowboy Sebop, is a Navy veteran. I'm an Army guy. He's a Navy guy, right? We're both veterans. We both understand the life. We both love the life. And he is a Navy veteran. And Cowboy Sebop, you are going to love this. This USN is United States Navy. That's what that stands for. What I just showed you on this side, which I didn't see with the naked eye at first, and then I looked it up and I saw this thing and it showed it, and I said, well, let me see if mine has that on there. And sure enough, it does. So this isn't 40 years old. No. As a matter of fact, it's not 40 years old, but it's from the 1940s, possibly even the 1930s, because what this is an issued. This is an issued World War II Navy fighting knife. That's what this is. This is not some hunting knife from the 1970s. Ooh, I was way off with that one. No. This was issued and used in World War II. Ooh, you gotta wonder what's on the end of that one. So basically what it is, it's called an RH-35, an RH PAL 35. And what happened is this razor making company called PAL, back in the 1930s, started making fighting knives for the military, for World War II. And what they did is they bought out Remington's factory where they made hunting knives. And they patterned their fighting knives off of Remington's hunting knives. So in 1939, I think it was, 31, 39, somewhere in there, they started doing this. And what they did is they used the models of hunting knife for their models of combat knife. And so this one says RH-35, and in the middle of the RH-35, there's an oval, and it says PAL. It says Made in USA. What that is, so very cool, is RH Remington Hunting, model number 3, the 35, and the 5 would be the blade. It's like 5 1/4 inches long. So that's where the RH-35 is. The PAL, what they put in that oval there, is saying that this is the PAL model and version of this. They took the hunting knife and turned it into a fighting knife, sent it off to the US Navy to use in war. Bah! And this thing wasn't issued. This wasn't issued World War II, first edition Navy fighting knife. Cowboy Bebop, I know you love that. We got to get together, and I have to bring you this, man. I have to. You need to put this in your hand. But I mean, just lucky that I decided to look it up and see what it was, because what I thought it was and what it is completely different things. And I'm trying to read if there's anything else on there. It's just a Mark 1, man. It's a PAL 35 USN Mark 1 combat knife. And that is awesome. That makes it better, knowing what this steel was made for and possibly what it went through. Ooh, I got to stick this with my Gerber that I had in Afghanistan. These guys are brothers. But man, oh man, and it had like a finish on it, like a packerized finish. So bluing it is actually kind of a good thing to do for this knife, because they made it that way so it wouldn't be reflective in the sun. So great job. And this, the wooden pommel apparently is rare. They have some with aluminum pommels, and they have a couple of tri-colored bands in here and here, and it's a different model, the same thing but different model, and I think this is the one that's more sought after. And I was looking, and these things are going anywhere between like $135, and I seen some at $175, and some a couple higher. So this one I would put down in that $125 region, because it was in such bad shape and I had to restore it. But it's a good thing I decided to restore it and not just let it rot away, because wow, did I have no idea. So Cowboy Bebop, get a good look at this, man. This is literally historical from the people that you served with, right? The people that wore the same banners you wore, the same uniform you wore. This is where it came from, man. This is what started it all. The World War II Navy fighting knife. I mean, that's cool. That is so very cool. And I had no idea those words in here. No idea. I couldn't see them. I looked it up and I said, ooh, I need to look a little closer. And that's awesome. So now I really can't wait to sand this down and just make it nice and bring back that leather a little bit. The blade is going to stay just as is. I am not messing with that blade no more. Aside from that edge being beautiful, then it's it. And don't think just because I found out some really cool history on it that I'm not going to still test it. That I'm not going to say, oh, let's find out how sharp it is and blah, blah. Think about this, man. This is from late 1930s, early 1940s. A combat knife, and it's still in awesome condition, even though it was used and abused and left out into rot, right? And it's just left out to rot, and it's still a badass knife. This thing is still an absolute killer of a blade. That's really cool. So let me let this harden and finish it. I am totally stoked with the new information I found. The internet is a lovely thing. So this turned out to be a very, very cool, like barn find type thing. Love it. Hold on now. All right, so I have a whole new life like blown into me right now because of this knife. I am so stoked to have the honor, literally the honor of not just owning this and didn't even know what I was owning, but the honor of just keeping it alive. You know what I mean? And, man, Cowboy Sebop, I wish you were here, man. I wish you were here. Also, just a little what's in my pocket update. People ask all the time. I decided to bring out the tactical gears. Thick like a brick. You want to see how thick it is? Let's see. That's a military fighting knife. It's double the size. But, man, these tactical gears knives are no joke. Been using that for the last 2 days. Just love it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this, and then I'm going to throw some wax on the sheath and some wax on this leather when it's done. So bear with me. Hold on. All right, so I am back down to leather, and all this stuff that was frayed before, you can still see it's voids, but now it is full of epoxy that's in there that's going to keep it all tight. And now that it's sanded down, there's no pieces sticking up. So what I'm going to do here is grab me a little rag, grab me some Williamsville wax. Now this is wax for wood, for like handles, for wooden handles, but it still works really nice on a leather wrap handle and leather sheath. It just makes everything look good, gives it new life. And you got to appreciate something like that on something like this. All right? Anytime you can reach into the past and bring back to life a fighting veteran, and that's what this is. This knife is a veteran of foreign wars, right? This is a veteran of World War II. It's not just the knife that was carried by a veteran. This knife is a veteran, right? So to me, it deserves all the same respect. Look at that leather coming through, man. Woo-wee. So I am going to give this all of the same honor I would give Cowboy Sebop on Veterans Day, right? You know, if I was standing next to my brother right now, I'd say, Cowboy, thank you for your service. And you know what? It's if you've served in the military, and when you see, like whenever I go out and I see like an old guy, especially, you know, somebody at least Vietnam, when I see them in the supermarket or like Costco or whatever, and I see their hat, and you could always tell, man, you see those old CB hats or the old Army hats or something, man, that says Korean War, Vietnam War, you know what I mean? Anywhere that they may have served. Even if you have served yourself, don't think that doesn't mean you shouldn't walk up to them and thank them for their service. I do it all the time, and they love it. As a matter of fact, I was in Costco, and I saw this old Korean War vet, and I walked up to him, and I said, I'm an Afghan combat vet. I said, but I just wanted to thank you for your service, my brother. And the guy was so thrown that a fellow veteran, first of all, stopped to say anything, let alone somebody, you know, younger, and somebody just out of the blue, randomly just seen his hat and walked up to him and said something. He was so thrown away that he had these special, these pins on his hat. I still have it on my hat. The hat that I was wearing the day I met him. And it was some kind of commemorative pin, you know, for a veterans thing. And the guy pulled one off his hat, and he's like, oh, I want you to have this, blah, blah. I said, oh, you don't have to do that. No, the guy was just crazy nice. And it just completely made his day to be recognized. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's all it takes. So if you're not a soldier, if you were a soldier, if you are a soldier, if you see somebody that you know has served before you, he's got the hat on, or he's something, some way that you know, don't be afraid to make his day. They like that. You know what I mean? It's an appreciated thing. Just like Cowboy Sebop, man. Love you for everything you did, everything you do. So the amount of care I'm putting into this is a reflection of my respect for you, my brother. And this is just now one of my favorites. I swear, what I need to do is I need to send this to you, cowboy, just so you can put it in your hand. Right? You have to mail it back, but I think I'm going to send it to you just so you can get a feel for this and the honor of the guy who held this before you. I mean, I have no idea who. I have no idea who it could have been, but what I do know is he was our brother, and you're a Navy guy, so especially, cowboy, he was your brother. And I think it would be important for you to put that kind of history in your hand and just, you know, just be one with it. You know what I mean? Take your time with it. Do whatever you want to do with it. Just mail it back. All right, so let's get some of this on here. Get it inside those threads real nice. Now there's three different styles of sheath that they made for it. And two of them were leather like this. One actually had USN stamped on here. Some of them didn't. And then others were like a completely different material. But I think it was like a metal material. And I like the leather ones better. And even though this one doesn't say USN on it, it doesn't really matter to me. It's awesome the way it is. So what was I looking for? Oh yeah, this. Put a little bit more of that on there. You know what I need to do is I need to grind that off so I can pull this out. Hold on. All right, that was easy. So this old wretched piece is now gone. So we can continue to give this thing the proper life it deserves. And if there was a way to save that, but it was so brittle that it broke off. If there was a way to save that, believe me, I would have saved it. There was just no way to save it. So the rest of this is getting a new life. And a new life it shall get. Let's do the back real quick. All right, gotta love that sound. Oh yeah, this is gonna soften it up real nice. Just gonna bring balance to the force right here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open this up and put a little bit on the inside. It's starting to be leather again. Starting to be leather again. All right, so in my hands, I have an authentic World War II fighting knife. This is awesome. This is awesome. Man. Ooh, I am loving this, man. The RH-35. Man. I am loving it. Ooh, let's see if I can even get that in there. It's written right there. You can't really see it, but oh man, it is there. It is there. So I need to cut something with this. All right, it's raining outside, but I back pocket the sheath. But I wanted to just take it out now. Normally we do our regular testing, but because it's raining, I'm not going to. Holy mackerel! I gave this thing an edge. Look at this. This thing began life as a tool made for saving some seaman's life, right? Some Navy, World War II fighter. Guy didn't even know he was going to eventually be seen as the greatest generation of all time. You know, American heroes. These guys didn't go in it for heroism. They went in it for country. That's all they did anything for, was for country. It's a lot different than the generations today when everybody is me, me, me. These guys went in strictly them. And if you can't respect that, get off my channel. But, you know, it's just amazing to think that after all these years, it takes minutes to bring something that was used to keep you alive, something that was used to fight and survive with. And now I can literally use it to fight and survive with. It's starting to rain harder now. Years later, right? Woo, man, it's coming down. So, I know. Damn kids leave dishes everywhere. So 80 years. 80. Okay. 80 years. Yeah, hold on one second. Hold on. All right, so we're talking 1939 to 1942 is when the big air show was. But you're literally looking at 80, maybe even more years old on this knife. And I just went outside and took to a stick with it like it was brand new. I mean, took to a stick, did some whoo, did some shoo, did some woo, did some woo, did some woo, did some woo. So I could do that all day long. Well, no, eventually I run out of paper. But the edge, man, I put an edge on here that those boys would have been proud of, because this thing would have split some skin back then, man. That's it. I mean, just so proud to have done this one. The knife is awesome. The knife is awesome. This is World War II U.S. Navy fighting knife. Crazy, man. So that's it. That's it, my buddy. I'm gonna have to let you play with this one, man. You're gonna have to play with this one, man. So I could see why they use it as a fighting knife too. It's just so light. I mean, this is this is stab. Ouch, 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 ouch. And I could see it. I could absolutely see it. Fan freaking tastic. Awesome blade. What an awesome trip it was to get this thing moving, man. All right, that's it for this one. I'm done. I'm done, and I'm not just done. I'm done. I'm Donnie B all day. Until next knife.